My name is Keith Bryant. I have been in the tech industry, in the tech space for about maybe about 7 years. I currently work at Visa as a senior estet, which is a software engineer that works in like the testing and make and ensuring like the quality of software. Where the idea is to prevent bugs from going from being in the software that you guys use daily. Um, Again, I've been at Visa for about two years, and I've learned a lot and in my years in the software world. So I'm glad to share some of the things that I've learned with you guys.
Good morning. My name is Monty Greene, and I am the program manager here at Elevance Health in our IT apprenticeship program.
Well, hello everyone. My name is John DeShazer, and I'm the president of Logic Spree Technology Services. So Logic Spree, we're a Salesforce professional services firm. Now, Salesforce, what it is what they call a CRM tool or customer relationship management platform. So it allows you to manage your customer information, customer sales, service tickets, and say marketing or email communication with your customers. So to put a little more perspective on what this tool or the line of work that we're in. So we're professional services. So think of like, say, with cars. So you have your manufacturers who design your car, or in this case, Salesforce designs the product. And then you have your car maintenance shops or custom shops that help you support once you purchase your vehicle. So my organization, we help organizations support the software after they've purchased it. So that's where we're professional services, but we are a service-based business. I've personally been in this space for about 12 years, starting off as a sales analyst and data quality analyst, Salesforce administrator. To my last role before starting this company, I was a senior consultant for IBM, helping other organizations support their use of Salesforce.
Tell us about your career path and how did you end up in your current role?
I've actually always had an interest in, well, not always. I started developing an interest in computer programming and computer science around my senior year of college. I started, learning how to code, learning how to build software, learning how to build like web applications and things like that. And so it all started like kind of humbly, where I started taking on several freelance projects, including some with some like local photographers in the Middle Georgia area, or like other local businesses in the Middle Georgia area, and eventually got on to work on a couple projects with the Goodwill. From there, I I moved to Atlanta and I started taking on full-time roles in fintech companies across Atlanta. Well, specifically like fintech startups. Uh, and so I had the experience of, working in like early phase startups and building a bunch of like the infrastructure from scratch, as far as like testing, build, deployment of software and everything like that. Um, and eventually, uh, from I guess from working in the fintech space for several startups over the course of like maybe about 5 years. Eventually, I found my way into Visa, and I'm currently working on their uh, B2B on their B2B platforms or business to business platforms. So yeah, that kind of describes my path of how I got here. It all started off with a curiosity about
Mhm.
software and about uh, uh, programming and things like that, and then eventually
Yeah.
led to being here.
Okay. Awesome. Did you say you went to school for this or you just kind of started?
I actually went to school for business. I actually went to school
Um,
for with a focus in marketing.
um,
Um, and so a lot of the the path that I got to get here was really through again developing that curiosity while I was in college, uh, taking on taking on internships and freelance projects,
Yeah.
working my way through startups, and proving myself there, and then eventually, being here at Visa.
Wow, my career path. It's been one of those that I would probably say you probably hear quite a bit from those of us who are in IT, especially an OG like myself. When I started my career, I wasn't thinking about information technology because really IT was something that was coming on the scenes when I was coming up in my career. So I certainly took the traditional route, if you want to call going from high school to college as traditional. I took that traditional route. But when I was, in college, I was really going to college. I started out going to college to become a doctor. Many of the folks in our family are in the medical field. We have lots of doctors and nurses. And so, of course, I was going to go down that path. And so, as I was doing that, I discovered very quickly that for me, becoming a doctor wasn't, the thing that, excited me every day. I certainly love science and I love, the research and things of that nature. But to do that from a physician's point of view, where you are, the best way I could describe it is that as a physician, a lot of things you do every day doesn't change because you have to really get good at what you're seeing on a regular basis. That whole idea of doing the same things all the time didn't really appeal to me. And so as I was in that field, I really kind of switched over to communications and business as my degree focus. And as I was doing that, then this whole industry of IT started coming to life. And so, for me, when I was graduating from college, I think the story I always tell young people when we talk about career development is that I saw myself having three different pathways that I was considering from college. And that was I could become an entertainer or singer because I do like to sing and I still do some of that in my church. Or I could become a politician. And many people always still want me to become a politician, but there was reasons that I didn't see that as the career for myself. Or the other thing at the time was really going into some type of sales opportunity because I love presenting. I love talking to people. I love engaging with new ideas, creating solutions. Those are things that, are appealing to me. And so I saw sales as one of those things that I could truly do. And then I decided if I was going to be in sales, that I wouldn't just sell any old thing. I really wanted to sell something that was a high ticket item or very expensive because in sales, of course, you make commissions based on what you sell. And so for me to make as much money at the time that I wanted to make, if I was selling something like a big Lear jet versus paper, for me, that was going to be a difference. And so, and then of course, the idea of research and knowing something I didn't know and finding out the information, those things that were already appealing to me, were part of that solution as well. And so I took the path, obviously, of going down the sales path. And so as I was coming into my career, if you will, I took my first job at AT&T. And for some of you that know AT&T today, it was a very different company back then. AT&T was the monopoly or the big giant when it came to anything that was considered communications. And so, they were the big giant. They were the only company for a long period of time. And so that's who I went to work for. And as I went to work for them, they actually began to change. So the government stepped in and made them break up because they were so big and it didn't allow competition in the industry. It made them break up. And when they were breaking up, I was coming into the organization at that time, and this new idea of IT started to take shape. And so there was a division of AT&T that was communications. That's the traditional telephone and that side of the house. And then there was this new environment, this new frontier called information systems or information technology. And that was brand new, and no one really knew what that was going to be. We knew that there was computers part of it. I had no idea what a computer was, but it seemed fascinating to me that this was going to be this new frontier. And I'm going to connect this same position later on in our discussion to the opportunities in this same industry that are happening now when you think about things like AI, artificial intelligence, and generative AI, and what all of that means, because I believe now we're in that same new frontier of what technology is going to look like. And so I took that on, began to learn about computers and information technology. I actually went to school out in Denver, Colorado. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. And now I was taking on my first job after college and moved to Denver, Colorado, and was there for 2 years. And then they transferred me over to MIT, where I was there in Boston for another year, just to learn all of this new world called information technology. And so it was a brand new, exciting industry for me. And I was going to be selling these big ticket items to these big companies, because all the companies would have to change the way they were doing business.
I actually started off going in the healthcare industry, just wanting to work in healthcare administration or the business component of healthcare. So I moved to Florida. I moved to Tampa, became a recruiter, planning to get a master's in healthcare communication, was going down that route. Then the office I worked with, I just happened to really disagree with their ethics, and I left that job and left that career and didn't know what I was going to do in my life. So moved back to Georgia. Then I moved to California and just tried life out there in LA, just trying to survive and just, figure out something to do. That didn't work. Came back to Georgia again and got into a sales job. Now this sales job, they use a tool called Zoho CRM. And again, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And we use that tool to track our customer information and our customer sales. And I use that as an end user. Now, at that point in my career, or early in my career, I wanted to leave sales. I wanted to get out of it. And we had an entire team that managed that platform for us. So I asked the sales operations manager, what type of skills was she looking for to hire someone into a position like this? And she told me. So I just started studying on the side, building my skill set and my understanding of CRM technology, and started applying for different roles where there was opportunity. Eventually landing a sales analyst job up in Calhoun, Georgia. And that role exposed me to Salesforce, because they use Salesforce, which is similar to Zoho. But my job was extracting data, transforming data, loading data, but then also administering their tool in itself and helping train their salespeople on how to use it. From there, I was recruited back to Atlanta to a telecom company to work in their sales operations department, supporting Salesforce and a few other tools, as well as sales and marketing tools. I continued to develop those skills and, elevate my career, eventually landing at the Home Depot, supporting their pro division or their B2B segment with transforming their use of Salesforce. From there, I was recruited to IBM to help with a portfolio of their customers. Again, transform and manage their use of Salesforce. By that point, though, I clearly see that this is in high demand, but we didn't target small and mid-market organizations. So I developed a business plan, set aside my savings, and quit my job 6.5 years ago to start this company, Logic Spree.
What is it like working in information technology? What is the culture like in information technology?
I enjoy actually working in this industry. One of the things that about this industry is that there's always something to learn. Again, technology, it doesn't go backwards, it always goes forwards. And so there's always an opportunity to learn. There's always an opportunity to kind of establish your niche. There's always an opportunity to find where to be a subject matter expert. There's always new growth opportunities. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy about this career path. as far as the culture, I would say that at least in Visa, uh, there's always I know there's always been this trope about like computer programmers and stuff like that, and they're sitting on their desk to themselves and writing up everything like that. But um, it's actually kind of the exact opposite,
Mm,
where uh, where everything has generally is solved as a team. Um, and so there's an environment where people aren't like afraid to ask questions. People aren't afraid to not understand something because they know that there's always somebody willing to help.
Casual. Today, the industry is awesome. Casual, diversity, you name it. There are so many different people involved in IT, both men and women from different backgrounds, from different international communities, you name it, that are all in IT. And so it's really an environment today that you come as you are and people accept you as you are. And it allows then a lot of the creativity that we all bring to the table, regardless of where we come from, to be really what companies are looking for. So today I would tell you, they're looking for young and exciting and innovative and creative, minds that really want to be part of this industry.
So first, I wanted to say that IT or technology is a tool, right? It
mhm,
is used to help you achieve something, but it is not necessarily just, the solution in itself.
mhm,
So to help people use technology in IT, there's business analysts, there's project managers, there's solution architects that require a lot of soft skills. So if you don't necessarily want to say write in a programming language or do testing, there's also a need for people to help understand the problems from the end user perspective or the customer perspective and help translate that so that the developers can do their work and test
mhm,
appropriately. There's a need for project managers, people who are just really well organized and able to coordinate people to make sure that things move along and that people
mhm.
stay focused. To even solution architects, who are looking at it from a business perspective and coming up with solutions to help guide everyone along the way.
What traits and skills do you think are necessary to succeed in this industry?
Say that one of the most valuable skills is the skill of learning.
Mm,
And so whether it's learning this or learning that or whatever, right? Again, there's so many different paths, there's so many different niches, and there's so many uh, different aspects of the IT industry that um, realistically, just having the ability to be able to learn, to be able to learn and consume new concepts is big because no matter again, things will change. Whatever the paradigm is now may not be the paradigm 5 years from now,
mhm,
or 10 years from now. And so, the people who typically best adapt to the changes and the shifts are generally the people who developed their skill to learn and continually cultivate the skill of
So
learning.
really, when it comes to those skills, it really is all of the above. I have people on my team that are very straightforward, logical thinking folks. Your ones who love ones and zeros and numbers and that sort of thing. But then I also have those who are the types that are my web designers and my drawers and thinking about things that you and I don't necessarily think about yet, but they can imagine and see those things. And so you really need a combination of everyone. As I tell people today, there's nothing we're going to do anymore that technology is not going to touch. And so, whether you want to be in healthcare or transportation or law or you name it, construction, you want to use your hands, all of those things will have something engage with technology. And the more that you have those ideas of how you can take the things you're passionate about and use them, the better you're going to be. And so, I know it doesn't always seem like the example to say you got this cookie cutter of skill and, who's the right person. But quite frankly, if everyone looked alike in terms of the way we thought in IT, we would not go as far as we have gone with IT. I think it really takes a combination of all of the above. And so I would encourage any of my young people in today's world to be really considering these types of careers because as I said, I don't care what you're doing, you're going to be involved in some level of IT. So
I'll say from a high level, regardless if you go with a more people-oriented direction or say the actual technology product development side of it, is problem solving. So the skill of asking the right question, because by asking the right question, it's going to help you understand what the goal is. It's going to help you conduct research on how to solve for it, come up with ideas. But then also, Keith mentioned something earlier that, a number of things are on the internet. So you also just have to ask the right question, right? So you can Google things, or even as you start to leverage generative AI now as a tool in itself, being able to ask the right question is going to lead you in the right direction. So that problem solving ability, I think, is critical no matter what direction you're
How
going.
do you see IT changing over the next few years?
Leveraging AI as a tool, generative AI, more specifically. So everyone who's heard of ChatGPT or Gemini or some of these other applications that are creating content based off prompts, you're going to see those incorporated more, and people try to come up with ways to incorporate them into their business. So what's going to be valuable is understanding how to ask the right questions based off a specific area of knowledge. So generative AI is not flawless, regardless of which model you go with. It is a tool. But say put that tool in the hands of a developer who understands a programming language, it can take, say, an activity that would have taken them 8 hours to do by themselves down to, say, 10 minutes, because they know the right questions to ask, because that's their area of expertise. But if you ask someone who doesn't know programming to do the same thing, it could be disastrous. So think of generative AI as an enhancer for a specific area of skill. But it can lead you in the wrong direction if you don't know how to validate that information.
I think the obvious answer is generative AI, at least just based on what we see in the news daily and the games that we see. And again, similar to John, the idea of being able to use generative AI as an efficiency multiplier is going to be a valuable skill in the next 5 years.
And now you have artificial intelligence. And again, I said it can be mind-boggling to some people, right, in terms of what that means. But what it really means is that computer, if you think of it as the device that we work with, that used to sit on the desktop and we had to kind of go to the desktop to use it. Then we said we're going to make it small and portable that we can stick it in our pockets and take it anywhere we go, because we wanted to be able to communicate all the time, anywhere in the world. And that communication can be, from a form of text, or it can be communicated through voice. It can now be communicated through video, as we're doing right here. It can be done in a variety of different ways. And now think about, we're saying that same device, we wanted to become more intelligent in the sense of doing things that you and I consider routine. And so something as simple as taking notes while we're having this conversation. And so you're taking down everything that you and I are discussing, right? And you're organizing it in a logical way that I don't have to go through the process of telling you how to organize it. The computer knows how to do it for you. And then I can simply ask questions about the summary of that information, and it will then deduce from all of our conversations, right, to give us back information that's going to help answer questions about the things that we had in terms of our thoughts in these conversations. And we don't have to do anything except for ask the question. And so that's where this industry and the technology is going to go. And imagine you doing that with everything.
What advice do you have for those who are just starting out in IT?
And I'm always slow to like hand out any like technical advice, like do this and do this or anything specific. But one of the things that I would heavily advise is do self-analysis.
Mhm.
You know, um, just, a good bit of self-analysis and a good bit of self-learning goes a good way in determining where, you know, how does your mind work? You know, where do you find yourself? What are the things that you find yourself interested in? And if you start there, then understanding what career aligns with that becomes much easier. Another thing that I would recommend is also, again, try everything and, and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't know your interests. You don't know, you don't know whether or not you have interest. You don't know whether or not that something aligns with the way that your mind thinks until you try something.
The first thing is, just continuous learning and being a student for life, because that is how you're going to understand what's in demand. That is going to help you prepare for opportunities when they present themselves. The second thing is problem solving. So you can learn about something, but you have to shift into thinking of, well, how do I help someone solve a problem? Because that's delivering business value. You get hired based off your ability to solve problems. Companies are serving their customers based off their ability to solve problems for them. So as long as you're continuously learning and then you're developing your ability to solve problems, that's going to keep you in high demand. And then there's one hard skill that I always recommend. And Keith, I know you want to avoid this one, but I do have one. And it is Excel, Microsoft Excel. So developing intermediary, and if you want, advanced Excel skills, because most organizations, if they don't have any technology at all, they're likely using spreadsheets, and they hate spreadsheets. So anyone who understands spreadsheets is going to have a job.
And so I would just tell you to come in with an open mind in terms of what it is and the things that you can learn. And then the other thing that I would say is certainly be the type of person that's willing to always be learning, because this field changes all the time. That the industry is going to be exciting. There's going to be tremendous amount of opportunity. And what an exciting time to kind of come in and get the foundations of what it looks like today so that you'll be the next leaders that's going to take it to where it's going to go. It certainly has given me a tremendous life for me and my family over the years, from the mid 80s when I kind of came into it, as this young kid coming out of our urban neighborhoods, not certainly thinking about the life that I've had and the places I've gone, all over this world. But it is tremendous, giving me this tremendous opportunity. And so I just imagine it'll do the same for you.